Record.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, always on the record. We will call the meeting to order. Schuyler Community Schools, in partnership with its parents, students, and the community, is committed to educate students to become skilled, knowledgeable, and responsible citizens in a global society. Notice that this meeting was given in advance according to state law by giving notice of the meeting to the public. Notice of the meeting was also given in advance to all members of the Board of Education. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting has been preceded by advance notice and is hereby declared to be an open session. Copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in the front of the meeting room. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Roberts,
Yes.
Misha,
Yes.
Stimrod,
Yes.
Robertchev.
Yes.
So we are here to have some discussion upon some property. And, you know, yeah, we could have the motion ahead of time, but I think there'd be an opportunity to have other input if there's so desired from the community as well, since we do have people here and maybe there isn't any input, but I guess I think we'll start with just having some conversation about the matter.
Okay.
That's right.
Normally, we would have taken things out to the public a long time ahead of time, but 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by Jackie about the interest of the people who own the current nursing home, their interest to look at selling that nursing home at a reduced price. We knew what it had sold for, and at first, when I knew that price, I thought it was pretty high. But then when they came down, they bought it for $1.6 million. We checked the assessed value of $1.2 million, and they had put the property up for $750,000. So Jackie and I went to look at it, and we went through the property, and there's 31,000 some odd square feet in there. And it's in really 3 separate additions to the main building. And following that, Jackie went back and negotiated down another $50,000 to get it down to $700,000, which is the price that they settled on. But the condition is if they sell it at a loss, that it had to happen before the first of the year, so that it all happened within the same fiscal year for them. They had 19 properties that they had purchased, and this was one that they were not intending on either opening back up as a nursing home. And at $700,000, it's about $22.50 a square foot is what the building is. There's 5.5 acres or just about 5.5 acres of property there on middle of town. Going construction rate for commercial buildings is somewhere, depending on, and you know, from our buildings is somewhere between $200 and $240 a square foot. And looking at the things that we don't have space for in schools right now, we looked at all of our, we're going to need a place for dual language to expand. We got 1 more year out at Richland that we can go out there, but then we're going to have to either open another building or do something to try to find a place to go with programs. Special education, we have spread all over the district. Instead of coordinating all our PT, OT services, we've got specialized services all over the place. And we looked at all the specialized services. We have an alternative ed school that's a successful school. We have graduates right now. We had 2 before Christmas, and we'll have 3 right after Christmas. So we're keeping kids in school. We're putting them through alternative ed. And they're in an office over at the middle school in the special ed trailer, which isn't very convenient because people have to move. When we looked at that building for that cost, my first concern was, so how are you going to finance this project? Well, if you remember when you sold your bonds, there's always a threat when you sell a bond that you can sell it as a deficit or you can sell it as a premium. So depends on how the interest rates go on the bonds. Well, it happened to be that our bonds, we had $12.5 million in bonds that sold for a premium of 13.75. And so I did give you a sheet that the audit reflects that you sold 12.5 and the premium rate, you got 13.75 for the cost of 12.5. So you have $1.25 million that were sold on a premium bond that you don't have to pay back. And so that money is sitting in that fund right now that what we would do is use the premium dollars up front. And then in next year, we can file for what's called a new school exemption. It's put into the state aid formula where schools that are expanding and building schools or buying property, that if you put students in them and classrooms in them, then you get 0.2% of what that state aid is per student. And our state aid per student is a little over $10,000 a student when you look at our state aid formula. And so 200 students, even if we just affect 200 in there through dual language, through special ed, that it'll almost pay for the property itself with the recovery of that. So you can, if you don't do that, you don't even get access to that money. So what I'm trying to do is find out, how do I get access to money that we wouldn't normally have access to? Because you can't use remodeled space. If it's a new purchase, it's a new building, you can apply for that money, okay? That money is paid 2/3 in the first year, 1/3 in the second year. I know that my son is a superintendent in Wausau, and he applied for that money. I worked with him on his budgets. And because of where he was with his building, all classrooms in the high school, he was able to apply for that money for Wausau, and he got awarded those 2 years. And so with this, there'd be enough classroom space there that we'd be eligible for that money to help reimburse us. So without using taxpayer dollars or property dollars, it's all tax dollars somewhere, but without using taxpayer property value dollars, you could own that property and look at expanding our services. Through the SCD, the Schuyler Community Development, they've been working at early childhood. We had a problem this year with our 3-year-old program because we did not bring 3-year-olds into the 4-year-old program until we got notified by the Department of Ed that any 3-year-old special ed child needs to be in a center-based program. And we never realized that, and I called other schools, and they didn't make anybody else. So we're under a microscope right now with the priority status. And so when we got called by the Department of Ed, we had to put the 3-year-olds in the 4-year-old building right now. Some of the rules that come with that is that you can't have more than half of that classroom special ed. And so spacing those kids around, if you mix them with a 4-year-old program, it creates some issues. So you got 3- and 4-year-olds in the same room, and the 3-year-olds are children with special needs. And so it's a difficult classroom to work in. What this building would do would allow us to be able to open a 3-year-old classroom to start that for those kids that need that center-based education. But it would also allow us to be able to expand should the money come for early childhood and daycare. Those programs are coming down from both the federal and the state governments, where they're looking at how do how do communities provide affordable daycare, affordable preschool settings. We're not there until the money flows for those programs, but if you don't have a place to go with them, you don't have a place to go with them. And so the square feet in that building would allow us to be able to meet a different population need. Centralizing technology, it's got a great generator out there, and so our tech, if we put our tech services out in that building, they go out and farm out to all the buildings anyway, but it would free up a wing in the middle school right now. And that middle school is fairly tight right now with our ELL newcomer programs and special ed, which would open that wing back up. So with not a lot of additional dollars to those buildings, we could move some of those programs that are district level programs out and have more room for the programs that need to be in the buildings. At the high school level, if you moved any offices out of here, you'd have conference rooms right now with speech therapy, and our newcomer program, we're tight again. Now I think the gym and that space will give us some space. The theater will give us some more space, but those are big spaces. And So this would also give us some room for smaller needs that we need, the conference rooms, offices, whatever. That building would give us enough room to be able to expand all of our special ed services, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. They would all office out of there and go out to the buildings. I just think we currently have a trailer that sits outside the middle school. That's not handicap accessible. This building's all handicap accessible down on fire grade level. It's all sprinkled and it's up to fire code. It's a facility that you wouldn't have to put a lot of money into unless you started taking out some walls to make some classrooms in it down the road. So I'm bringing it to you at $22 with a way to pay for it without using tax dollars to pay for it up front. And also a chance to recover, so that should we do some remodeling in that building and enlarge some classrooms, that there'd be money in that additional school aid money that we could get for new school adjustment. So that's where I'm at. Been working with Derek, our attorney, who's been working with us on all our building projects. And he's emailed back and forth with the owners in New York and with the attorneys out there. So I just got, here's a copy of the emails that went back and forth between them so you can see their discussion. In the motion, the way the motion would read today is that you would have time to amend this or to withdraw from this. So if you say yes today in this, you still have time, because attorneys are still working through this thing to make sure that everything's free and clear, that there's no issues in that building. We've not had enough time or had access to that building to do all the due diligence. So even if you have a motion today, we still have some time before the first of the year to get that done. Paul's been through that building with us. Paul said he used to work in that building, and so he knows it. And so we went through to see if there's any issues or problems. But that's the due diligence on that building. Because it just sold, the title company information is current. And so it wouldn't be a whole lot of other outside work that they'd have to do to make sure. I also attached to your board meeting the history of all the taxes that have been paid, and everything's paid up through 2019. And in this proposal, or in the purchase agreement, it also says that all taxes have to be current. We don't pay property tax as a school district, and so all the taxes that are out there have to be current for us. So, and through the building, looking at foundations and roofs, and they're in pretty good shape. You know, it's not something that you're gonna, knock on wood, unless you get a hailstorm, be replacing a whole lot of roofs on things that haven't been taken care of. They got out of there in March. The pipes were all shut off. All the water was shut off. There's still some water in the stools. It hasn't frozen inside there. But I went through it with Paul, and he didn't see any issues that we should be really, just a quick glance. But we've not been through it to do a good job. If you guys vote today, we will get through that building and make sure that that building's in good shape. So if there's no changes in the purchase agreement, or we'll get Derek on the phone in just a little bit and he can explain more. I'm trying to do my best to try to recall everything he said to me, but it's been kind of a whirlwind trying to get information and to attorneys across the country from each other. So Jackie, anything I've left out that you're aware of that was important for me? Because you were with me through all those.
Not that I can think of.
There's a question out there.
Yeah.
I've got several questions.
Okay.
First of all, I don't like to see it taken off the tax rolls because I know my taxes will rise. And this was vacant since March.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, they want to get it sold by the first of the year. So where's their planning? You know, I don't, they're putting pressure on you to buy it quickly. They could have offered it cheaper all through the year and gotten it sold as a rest home possibly. It just too fast for me.
Mhm.
And number two, do you have staff to do the work there?
We already have staff on board to do that, yeah. Now, if we started with early childhood, we don't have that staff yet, but we wouldn't do those programs unless we got the money up front from the government, you know, so.
Okay, another question. You've got a building out northwest of Rogers that's sitting vacant. I mean, why not use that?
We've been down the road of using the rural schools, and we
You're using them in Richland and North, and they're working out.
just did. But as far as moving those other ones, we tried an alternative school out in the country. Didn't work. We had police out there more than, I mean, it wasn't safe for our
Well, that was
staff.
because of the purpose that was being used, right?
Right, but to move a central office or to move special ed out there, that doesn't make sense because they have to work in the buildings. So,
It's really seems odd to me that they all of a sudden decide they have to have it settled by the first of the year. It's just
Jackie would answer
damn
that
poor
question.
planning on their part,
I will-
as far as I'm concerned.
I will answer that question. I had a hard time figuring out, we had a hard time here figuring out who bought the building, who AHC was. That was finally posted in the paper in July, and then everything was settled with them about October. So things have taken them a while to get all of, because they bought 19 facilities at the same time.
So you're saying it's changed hands since March?
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, Golden Living sold it to Emerald Healthcare,
Okay.
and they've sold the 19 facilities that they still own to Emerald Healthcare out of New York. And was able to finally get in contact with Jake Walden, who is kind of managing the properties from New York. And at first he talked about maybe wanting to lease the facility. They knew that they would not open it up as a nursing home again because all of those licensed beds that they had in that facility have moved to other facilities. So to start that process, I mean, we'd have to start that process completely over with the state of Nebraska in order for that to open up as a nursing home again. Jake was in town a couple weeks ago, and I asked to meet with him, and that's when he told me they really probably like to sell the facility instead of lease it. They are willing to, you know, if nobody was, and it wasn't just the school, I mean, this was open to everyone, whoever was interested in purchasing the building. They were gonna do this kind of the same process of, they were willing to take a loss if the sale happened before the end of the year. If it didn't, or if it doesn't happen before the end of the year, the price tag will go up to 1.5 million.
They didn't get it sold at 1.5 before? How was it
Well,
get
it
it sold?
did sell for 1.6.
But you have to remember, that was in a group.
It's-
so
yes.
It's all in how they assign those dollar
Yeah.
amounts.
Yeah. So
And
that's,
in the year I've watched it, there has not been an ad that's been for sale. I don't know where it was offered or what.
it really wasn't. I mean, it was just
Word of
when
mouth,
Jake was here.
hang around with the wrong crowd.
And then the Economic Development Board looked at it a week and a half ago too, to see if anybody had any ideas or if they could pass some information around.
But so am I understanding that up until about a week and a half ago, when they actually offered and said, we're willing to sell it for a loss, it really wasn't publicly for sale.
No,
So approximately a week and a half is when they decided, okay, we're going to take this loss instead of trying to do something different with it. We're going to take the loss.
they don't, decided they weren't gonna open it back up as a nursing home. And I think when Jake got all the financials finally from all of the buildings and everything, decided that if they could disperse of some of the facilities, that would be to their best interest.
Doesn't this kind of raise a red flag? Investment groups don't go buy real estate to lose money.
No.
Why do you think they're saying they'll sell it for 700,000 and January goes up to $1.5 million? If they thought there was potential for $1.5 million in a month, they aren't gonna sell it for 700,000. What's the reason? There has to be a reason.
You said it was valued at 1.2?
Well, it's
That's on the
assessed-
tax roll.
It's assessed at 1.2, and it was sold at 1.6. So there's not an appraisal right now between the two, but generally you take the appraisal close to the selling price on new, whenever you sell something, right?
It's all in their tax year is what.
Well, this is what I'm looking at, is if they use it as an investment, if they're willing to lose this much money now, why don't we offer them $400,000 or $500,000? If they want a loss, let them have a loss.
Get a big one.
Get a big one.
We'll make it worthwhile. I mean, that's what they're doing.
I know, but
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Fishy to me, it's really.
The last I was in there, it's full of small bedrooms, bathrooms between every other room. Is that building gonna be stable or made to eliminate certain walls to make rooms bigger?
yeah,
I mean,
because
start tearing the walls out without any.
Are they low bearing walls?
no, they're not.
Have you haven't had anyone look at it?
Yes,
You have?
yes.
They're not low there.
They're not
An
low
architectural firm?
We've not had an architectural firm in there, but it's a freestanding building. It's got hallways, but
Are you aware of the fact that that did have a flat roof on it at one time?
okay.
I mean, these are things that before you vote to buy something,
We understand
you
that.
need to know.
Okay, so, but if the motion goes today, we have a week to due diligence. Okay? And so our attorneys right now are working with this company because we went till the end of December to be able to get in there and make sure that we look everything over. But we can't get into it to do it if we don't at least take some action. The board decides in a week they don't want to do it. If there's issues, then we can pull out of it.
Thing is, you said you got a week after you approve it. We ain't got a week with the holidays coming up.
We do though,
How?
that we work over the breaks.
But you ain't gonna get anybody to look at it as far as structural wise.
I talked to the attorney, so as far as none of us are comfortable with this short a time frame, but I'd have loved to had it in August, or at least had an opportunity to start discussing it, but it didn't come to us this way. My fear is this: we're going to pass this up, and we're going to have to use building fund money to build a game, and you guys don't like that. And I found a way to be able to do it without going into your pockets to do it.
Well, we start when we spend too much money on the gym. That should only been maybe 2/3.
The people voted on it. We're not going back there. Well,
Postal vote. Yeah. So they, like,
pardon me?
it was a mail vote.
We didn't have control over that.
Been an open poll vote.
We didn't have control, guys. As a matter of fact, the courthouse
We didn't
sets that,
decide.
Carl.
We didn't decide what kind of election we were gonna have. That was done up.
That's the-
Your elected or appointed officials made that decision, what was gonna be done.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Okay, let's just stop because we're going back to get all your grievances solved. We're going to talk about this today. That's what's on the agenda. We need to stay with whatever these guys are doing. If you have any other concerns about this thing, about other things that we're doing what the public asked us to do.
Right.
Okay? And so these guys are really supposed to stay on the agenda item. And you know that from being in office, that you cannot just go talk about anything. The agenda item is, do you want to purchase this property and due diligence to make sure that this property, I mean, we've looked to see if there's any liens against it. We've looked at the title insurance. We've looked through the back taxes on this thing. We've done, and as far as the facilities, I went with Paul through the facilities to see what are our major concerns about heating, cooling, any of those issues. And Paul would be somebody that I would trust to be able to go through that building and look at the issues. I'm sure there will be some issues down the road that might cost us something, because you don't buy even a new building that doesn't have some issues.
What
So-
are your present obligations to the previous bonds? What do we owe you? You got 12.5 on the gym. What are the other bonds?
Well,
that need to be paid off?
We refinanced the 2012s. And so the 2012s, what was left on them was, I'd have to look, because I'm not going to quote you a number that is not accurate. Let's see if I
Yeah, I
can
mean,
get
we're
that.
within 1 year of the QC top one.
Yeah, well, it isn't even a full year because
Yeah,
it's
it's
300,
Right.
less than 300,000 on that one, but I gotta figure out where we're at. Probably somewhere around 4 million on the other one out there that's due 2029. But when we refinanced that, we saved a bunch of money on this bond, on that 2012 bond as well. And then made $1.5 million on the sale of the other ones. So, or $1.2 million.
What would you anticipate the operating cost to be on that facility?
We looked at the last 2 years, and the operating cost right now, what they were doing with it was about $5,000.
Or what's included?
All the utilities.
Utilities.
But right now, we're heating a building out in the country that's going downhill. And it's tough for us to try to use it as storage. Even we've tried everything we can try. So we haul stuff out, we haul stuff back. You know, if that facility was sold, that would make a lot more sense, probably, because it's difficult for us.
Just for comparison, North Bend bought the nursing home for 200,000. And I don't know the square footage.
They tore it down.
They tore it down, but it's right next to their school also.
Right. This one, we wouldn't tear down. This one it's in good shape inside.
So that's what bothered me too. If they tear it down, if they needed more space, why didn't they revamp that? It must have been too costly to revamp, probably, is my thought.
I don't know what that nursing home was. I was never in it.
That's comparable.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say, you know, just the little bit I know of with nursing homes and the hospital and everything else, reimbursements, they likely were not making a go of it from a monetary standpoint. That's probably the biggest concern of how that was.
Medicaid
Yeah,
we voted in, or I didn't vote.
yeah.
Well, right now, what I look at is I'm not going to be around here that much longer. But in the future, there's going to be needs in the community. And there's 31, how many square feet here? 31,000. So let's say we just needed in the future, we needed 15,000. We can get by with 15,000 square feet. Now we take that at a minimal price of $200 a square foot. I want to know if you guys are ready to vote for a $3 million bond to pay for that, because at this point, we don't know how long this new classroom stuff is going to be in effect. Right now, they'll pay for, this building will be paid for, what, 3/4 or almost all by state aid that we will receive because of the purchase of this. And we'll have 31,000 square feet that'll be paid for. You're paying for it because you're paying taxes, correct. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to quit spending that money if we don't use it. That money is going to go somewhere. So either you guys want to recap some of your taxes and bring them back into the community that you paid, that you send to Lincoln and Washington and wherever, you can get square footage for $23.50 versus $200 to $250 a square foot later down the road that you're going to pony up the full price for, because those facilities will be needed in the future. And if we don't have the facilities in the future, and it's mandated by the state or feds, which it's going to be, because we really don't control much what goes on here. Yes, we vote and this and that, but we're pretty much told what happens, what we're going to do, or what needs to be done. And you guys are going to pony up again. I'm going to pony up. I pay taxes also. But if you can put something in place for 1/6 of the cost, I just can't. I can't understand why anybody would be against that, because down the road, you're going to pass, by the time maybe you need to do this, 5 years, maybe less than 5 years. But in the next 10 years, you're going to have to build more facilities. So somebody's going to have to pony up. And if this piece of property will suffice for the amount of space or square foot you need, I can't see where, if we were asking you for $3 million right now, I could see that. I could say, oh, geez, we just got a bond passed. But if you guys don't want to take something that you can get for $23.50 a square foot versus $250 a square foot, I don't know where your mathematical figures come, but mine say it's not a good deal. This would get you the space for minimal cost per square foot, plus the state aid will come in and pay for the majority of it. Maybe we're going to have to spend a little remodeling, and maybe depending. That's the way I look at it.
When the elementary school was added on to, I was told that was to free up room at the middle school, and there would be all kinds of room. Now, was there some poor planning in that, or what?
I'll take that. I think, when you look at the numbers and the growth numbers, and that's actually where I was headed next, as far as where we've been, when we initially did the first portion of the elementary school, we were looking at statistical numbers of 120 kids per classroom. 4 years later, we were looking at 150, and currently we're probably closer to 165. I mean, so the growth has been there. And again, I haven't really.
These are little guys coming in.
Everybody, and so from a class perspective, that's one class gone from 120 to almost, so basically another 150%.
So your 160s are what, up to 4th grade now, or?
No, they're in middle school.
Right.
It's 155.
Okay.
So and so I mean, so as they happen, I mean, yeah, maybe there was rooms there to start out to kind of help with that growth, but as it was, or as it's been now, I mean, so we only had 6, 8 at the middle school, and even that is I think we've got 500.
400 and what?
427.
5 years ago, there was less than 400.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a growth process, and I know even when we had separate districts, so we were at that level, it was yeah.
We gained 30 in a month and a half in the high school this year. Okay, so as far as growth of programs,
Will that growth continue? We don't know.
No.
I mean, and nobody knows, but one of the things probably from Schuyler's perspective, and I think, Kim, you probably brought this to our attention a few years back already, the average age in the community is less than 30, or right around 30. I mean, so that's 29. I mean, so there's.
So it's even, we have a lot of families, a lot of young children.
So the things that we're looking at are those specialty programs, because when our kids come in here, they're either not on track, they're 17-year-old freshmen, they don't speak English, We have no place to go with them. We're trying to mainstream them in our classrooms. The state's on us because they don't think that we're rigorous enough. Well, until we get kids up to speed, either academically or with the language, we have to have places to go with those kids until we can serve them. And we legally have to educate any kid who walks through our door who lives in our community. Okay, doesn't matter if they have an address. They term them under the McKinney-Vento Act as homeless if they don't, because they can be living with relatives, they can be moving from house to house. But if they sleep in our community, they are a resident child. Some of these kids come to us with a whole lot of other issues that we have to deal with, or we get to deal with. I shouldn't say have to, because it's not a bad thing. We're the chance for us to turn a kid around and to make a positive life for them. Now, it's those smaller spaces where we need smaller classrooms we don't have. What this building would provide us is the ability to be able to take a child, teach them English faster, accelerate them, not let them mix all day in a high school where they can speak their native language and slow down their academic process. So we're looking at alternative ed, we're looking at newcomer programs for the high school, what we can do to help advance our students faster. We have companies that come to town who want to know, do you have a workforce? Okay, well, our kids are their best workforce. And go look at what our kids are doing in the community. They're good carpenters, they're good builders, they're ambitious kids. You might see the opposite, but we see a different thing than what you might see. If we can do things that are affordable, not raise your tax here, and I can guarantee you on this building, we have the money that will surround this building that will help us be able to provide those services. We have a growing special education population. Why? Because when they come in here and they are ELL, their primary handicapping condition is language. Once they get the language, then we can see if they have the special education needs. We're at 11% special ed in our district. The average in the state is 15%. We're way under identified for special ed services. Why? Because we can't qualify them in those programs until they get a language. Your preschool pays you huge dollars back. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's a 6-cent program. It's all paid for. But if those kids came into our schools not having a language that they can learn with, that's what we're trying to help you understand. It's not like school was 20 years ago. You don't just get a new kid and enroll them. And we don't have the space for that. If I continue to grow at this
There's several
pace.
things that bother me, and
Well-
one is that the state sends you a $4,000 a day advisor or whatever her title is.
I know.
I know.
We don't like it either. I promise you.
That bothers me. It's my tax dollars from somewhere. I know.
Right.
Sure.
And why do we have to put up with this?
It's an accumulation of all those things that upset.
Okay, but you know what?
I
I'm
watched
just,
this inquiry, and that made me so sick that
I know.
wondering what's happening.
we do not want to make, I do not want to make a recommendation that divides our community. I will promise you that. My biggest fear is we worked hard for 7 years to try to get the community on our side, do the right things, be reasonable. We have the 6th lowest cost per pupil of any schools in the state. I don't know what else we can do to help that.
Yeah, I know.
All right?
I know, you got that. But I told Chuck one time, I like being number one.
I know, you would too. But you know, how do I get that population up to
You got
speed
your
faster?
hands tied, first of all. They tie your hands and tell you gotta do something.
But you know what? If you guys didn't show up here and express your concerns, we don't know what those concerns are because many of the people will not tell us. Okay, so you guys come in here, we're gonna do a better job of due diligence on this property before we'd ever come back and say, let's pull the trigger, let's move forward. It's the right thing to do for the community at the right dollar. Okay, but I will tell you this, if you wanna come through any of the due diligence, you wanna walk through us, you're patrons. We will help you. But I also do not want to sit here as a superintendent and make a recommendation that the community doesn't want either. That I don't want.
Can I get you to back up? Russ had a question that got,
I don't know.
can we back up?
Yeah.
Let Russ speak his question.
How many kids or parents will be, how much traffic are we gonna have over there?
It's mostly the classes that we get, we'll get high school kids who are in alternative ed or newcomers. Okay, that we'll have. And that we're looking at, the way that building is set up, it'll probably be on the north end of the building is where that traffic will come in. Okay. We're going to run out of room out at Richland next year. And so the new classes that come in for the dual language program, we're going to have to go somewhere else with them. To reopen Richland, or to reopen 4R, I get no money to reopen that building. If I open this building, I can get that money back because it's a new school. It's the way the state works. But I could go stick a bunch of money out there and get that building back up to speed. We've not shut the heat off, we're heating it. But that building out there creates a whole lot of issues for us. And if that building actually sold out there, and I'm not ready to approach that with the board yet, but right now we've tried to use it as storage and it's a pain in the neck. We put stuff out there and we can get vandalized because we don't have any protection out there. And so that building that sits out there, the last thing I want, and I'm on camera to the public saying, you know, there's some options for us to be able to try to run more efficiently. And if we can do that and we can provide the programming at a more efficient cost and get some other money in here to help us pay for it, it would make sense to me. Yes.
Dr. Hazing, back to your primary funding source for this proposed purchase. I would like to know, you know, if I could sell $12.5 million of bonds for $13.5 million, that I'm still trying to figure out how you can make $1 million. I know interest rates are part of it. I know very little about bonds, but is the strength of the sale of our bonds a reflection on the fiscal integrity and the strength, the credit strength of the school district?
There are several things that go into when you get a bond rated. Okay, and so, well, you know, obviously when you go to buy a house, you can buy your points and you can get a bond rated. It's kind of the same process. But when we got our bond rated, we had a strong rating. And because of that strong rating, the value of those bonds went up. So I could buy $100 worth of bonds and they're worth more. Okay, that's that premium, right? If I have a low bond rating, I might have $100 worth of bonds and they sell for 90. Now I have a deficit bond where I'm actually paying for more than what I'm actually selling. So when bonds go to sale, it's a crapshoot. And so you got to hand it to D.A. Davidson. They did a heck of a job of advertising, putting our due diligence forward, showing our money, showing where we're at as a district, our solvency, and that helped. Okay. Also, the interest rate on those bonds for the purchasers was also affected. We thought we'd sell them at this rate, and they actually paid a higher rate. And so it's a combination of those things.
1.3 million additional money.
1.275 or something.
And that's
additional money.
That's where that again is the primary funding source.
That's the premium. That's the bond premium that we would use as the capital up front. So we would not go to debt. We would use that premium that we earned off of the sale of those bonds. And then we would look to replace that by what's called a 2-year new school adjustment. So that if we could use that to pay down the bonds in the future, that the board would have a choice of being able to use that money, but we would apply for that 2-year new school adjustment.
I presume that the building is ADA compliant now, is that correct?
Yes.
Looking into your crystal ball as
fire code compliant.
Future potential ADA requirements, do you think the building would be within the wheelhouse? And I know you're looking through the...
I know parking lots, the things we got written up for our parking lots and restrooms, well, obviously the nursing home has a lot of restrooms that are ADA compliant, okay? And so how we would use those one of the things you're gonna see even in new schools is because of the gender equity issues that we have now we have family restrooms, but with private bathrooms, we aren't gonna have those issues in that building with shared bathroom facilities. Those are all things that you have to look into. In this locker room, you used to have a pole in the men's locker room and the guys all stood around the pole and showered. Not anymore. They're all individual showers. So the world's changed, whether we like it or not. And so we're not my job is to be apolitical on these issues and make sure that when we talk about issues that are out there, that we look at what kinds of major issues. You have a full functioning kitchen in that facility. That kitchen is in great shape. It's got everything from a dishwasher to convection ovens to regular ovens to all the kitchen hoods are up to code. I went through that kitchen to look at where would you be spending money in that kitchen, and it needs to be cleaned up. You can drop a lot of money in a kitchen. We're finding out right now, you drop a lot of money in a school kitchen. And so for us to be able to have a facility, and if it was something that we would look at, how do we work with the community more? How do we work with the county? How do we work with other entities more? Right now, we have a difficult time getting any space open for you. But we would have space for us to be able to work with other community entities that might need space like that.
How many people are out there? Residents. How many residents are out there?
50. There was enough beds for about 55 or so, but there were only about 23 or so there.
How many kids do you think they're gonna stick in there right away?
Well, if we get to a K-6 dual language and there's 30 kids a class, okay, that's what we're looking at, is that K-6 down the road as we move up with the double section classes of 10 to 15 kids. I look at alternative ed, I look at newcomers. And so I'm looking at probably a minimum of 200 students in that building down the road, whether they're full-time or part-time, you get to count them in your
Reimbursement.
yeah, your reimbursement for that building. So we'd look at square feet, because you got to look at square feet, classroom space, and then students, and then you get paid by that.
So I had a question with regard to,
250 kids.
Yeah, you could probably put that in there. And then the one wing that is, it's assisted living, that wing, we wouldn't look at doing a whole lot, because if that one went to early childhood and daycare, you want small rooms. Because then they all have kitchens, I mean, it's equipped for that expensive stuff that you wouldn't. So when you look at 2 or 3 infants or babies, that might be a facility that down the road, if the money comes, would be something that would be a standalone. It wouldn't be K-12 dollars running it.
Do you anticipate being mandated to do daycare?
I don't know if it'll get to a mandate, but I think that there's going to be some money that's going to start coming. Both the Republicans and the Democrats are both facing one of the greatest needs in our country right now is affordable daycare and early childhood education. And there's going to be a big push for us to get kids.
I've attended some UNL extension functions, and the 0 to 3
Yeah.
has been the topic. And I attended those on purpose just to educate myself. And their take on it is, instead of having facilities for those children, is to educate the caregivers. That's kind of UNL's approach to the thing, to make the parents more responsible, to teach parents how to be parents. I think that's a necessity nowadays. And extension is kind of going a different direction that way.
Okay, and that's what we did.
Instead of having facilities to house those 0 to 3s, 0 to 4s, they're trying to teach the community how to take care of it.
So
instead of the taxpayers holding these properties.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that we did that. We have what's called home providers. And the home providers.
Meaning the school district?
Yes. We have home providers, and they go out into the homes. I think we're serving 75 children right now that are required to be served in their homes. And we thought we were doing the right thing. And this year we got turned into the Department of Ed because we were also serving 3-year-olds in a home environment where we were teaching the parents. And the Department of Ed came down and told us, they will be in your center-based program. That's why we had to put them into our 4-year-old preschool.
So what do we do with all these mandates?
Why
do they think there's so much? Why do they think they know so much more than the people in your community? Is this something I need to go to Boston about?
Yeah, I don't, okay.
I mean, we're kind of getting off the subject.
That's another issue, and I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't stay on.
Here's my
target.
question is, we talk about expansion on this, on all the demands on the school system, and that's why I said mandates, because I know you're mandated every time you turn around. But are we gonna try to be everything from the 2-day-old kid, we're gonna take care of them all the way through? I mean, where's this gonna stop?
I don't
When are
think
we gonna
the
start
school's
school
not,
year?
I don't think the
We're gonna
school's,
start-
no, school is absolutely not gonna be in that bad. No.
Early Childhood Development Center would be more of a community,
Right.
probably have its own
See,
board.
well, that's my point. We're getting to be like the school district has to provide everything to everybody. And as a taxpayer, we're overloaded. The rural is so overloaded that we can't hardly afford to operate anymore. And then we keep adding programs, and they always force it onto the school districts. You know, and I'm just gonna pick out things like the field house. So we're providing for entertainment for kids all day long. We pay for the people that have to manage it, and all those things are great. But what does the rural get out of that? This is Schuyler gains from that. It's their YMCA for Schuyler.
Okay,
And it's at the expense of the taxpayers that pay to the school district. So when are we gonna stop this thing and make it education and not all these other social things that go with it?
Carl, all those costs are under our cost per pupil.
I know,
Okay.
I know all of that.
Okay.
I didn't just fall off the turnip truck yesterday.
No,
and
but
you know that.
You're telling us that we have more costs, and I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not
We
here to
could
do
have
that.
less costs if we didn't offer everything. Let the community of Schuyler pick up some of these issues instead of the school district. What you
Okay,
do by including the school district, it includes a whole bunch of the rural valuation to come in to pay for it all.
okay,
And
Carl,
we can't hack it.
okay, I'm telling you, you do not pay for the preschool on the corner. Sixpence pays for that.
Well, but we all pay for it, you know. Not-
They
not
pay
out
the cost
not
of the
out
program.
real estate taxes, I would say.
So, say what?
Not out of real estate taxes. But we all pay for it because it's a tax.
Some,
base.
but some of it comes out of the Buffett Foundation, which I don't think you pay
No.
for the Buffett. So, I
No,
mean,
not the bucket.
okay, so that, we're getting way off.
That's
Okay, let's just go
sorry,
back to the,
sorry,
Just building it
let's get
in.
back
let's go
to
back to the
business.
issue.
Let's
Okay,
get back to business.
okay. So what I'm saying is, we have an opportunity here to look at a facility. And if this facility meets the needs and would take some pressure off of us having to come back to you and look at building onto something or adding space or spending a bunch of money out in 4R to get that building back up to speed, or actually maybe trying to relieve some of that pressure by some of those facilities that we're not using to their fullest potential. The trailer at the middle school, which doesn't have handicap accessibility, we stopped putting kids out there, and now alternative ed kids go out there, but it's a special ed office. But I can't have any meetings with parents out there because they can't get up the steps. Okay, so that's not a good place for special ed, but we just don't have a space in there. If I move the tech out of that wing, I now have a wing out of that building. And these people are tech support. They run all the networks and all of the technology that we have in the building, several thousand computers, 3,000 computers.
The kids that we're going out to. like
4R.
Rogers School.
Yeah.
Are they going back to, you know?
No, we don't send any students out right now.
We're housing those all.
We house all our own at 180, 90,000 bucks a kid. No, no, we don't.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do our best to try to educate every child that's in our school district. And I'm not saying that sometime down the road, we won't have a program that we don't have
No, how many
Answer
kids
for it.
are involved in that program?
now. Alternative ed, there's 6 in the alternative ed program right now. And there's 3 that are going to graduate, and they're graduating on time. And there's some more kids from the high school that are applying to get in there because they're off track. They're too old for their grade. They're not going to stay here till they're 25. Okay, and if we can accelerate them through in that program. The program that we use is University of Nebraska High School, because it's accredited at the same level as ours, so we are not cheapening our diploma so these kids get out of here without a quality education. That does nobody any good, because they can't enter college, they can't enter a workforce. they don't have a good set of skills. Some of the things that we really work hard at is behavior, how you work with people, how you greet people, how you interact with people, because if they're going to be part of our community, they need to know how to assimilate. So there's a lot of stuff you're not learning on page 36 out of a textbook. There's stuff that teach you how to be a good citizen, to be involved. And for some of these kids, that's lacking. They don't understand it. But I'm going to tell you, your best chance of getting that taught is in this school. And I've been in a bunch of schools. And I'm pretty lucky at this point in my career, because I do feel lucky every day that I get to come in here and I get to help make an impact on some kids. You don't understand how awesome that this community is at what we're doing. We might not all like how things have changed, but by God, we're going to do our best. And they'll be good people in the future for us. They'll be good parents. So it's an investment. I know it is. This building is an investment. However, we're using dollars that I don't have to go back and say, I'm raising your taxes on you because we took this in. Now, if the board doesn't think this is a good idea to even look at it, I'm okay with it. I just know that we're going to have to make some tough decisions down the road about how do we help some of these programs.
Yeah.
Dr. Hazen, I got a question on, the primary funding that Kim was asking about. So the additional funds from the sale of the bonds, if they wouldn't be used for the purchase of this building that we're debating right now, how will those dollars be spent? I understand that they're going to get paid back over the next 2 years regardless.
The building fund for right now, because obviously you can't turn them around and put them into education because they're building fund dollars. And the only way you can make that transfer back to the activity or back to the general fund is if you close your building fund down. We got a building to pay for. We can't close that down. Because you can, otherwise it's considered a loan and you got to repay that loan within the fiscal year. So you could interfund borrow, which is what was happening when I came here 7 years ago. The general fund was broke. They were $1 million in the hole. Right now, every fund is on its own 2 feet. Why? The board made some great choices. Tried to do it without raising the levy, but also we didn't even raise our tax asking a penny this year. Now, as far as a responsible board, I'm saying these guys, if I can show them a way to try to get at some money, and this city's in love with grant money, I know it, but grant money comes at a cost because it comes with an expectation, and all a grant is just somebody investing in you to get something that they want to see work. So anybody who thinks there's free money that people are passing out, that's not the way it works. And you know from the county that getting after grant money is a hard thing.
Extremely.
Because there's not a lot of grant streams. Anytime we get a grant that comes our way, we work hard to get it. So whether it's the right thing to do or not the right thing to do, these three are the three from the community who came here to speak up.
Yeah.
So I gotta tell them I'm respecting that. You came, you spoke up your concerns. If the board votes yes, we will do our due diligence to look at this thing. If the board votes no, we'll walk away from it and do what they got to do. But I think we're passing up some money.
Maybe you should offer them a little less or see if they take less.
We tried.
Negotiate with them.
We've tried, and our attorney from Lincoln tried. The same attorney that we had on that building. So he knows us, and the reason we used him is because he knows our financial issues. And so we use that same attorney to try to help us work through this.
I thought maybe you operated like Obama.
Oh, please.
I guess
Yeah.
I just make a comment, I agree with Jerry. I hate to see that $20-some thousand worth of tax monies go away on an annual basis. We elect the board to provide good education for the students that reside here. If there's a real definite need, the board's the one, Dr. Hazen is the one that knows those kind of things. if we really need the space, and I stress that again, if we really need the space, you know, $20, 20 some dollars a square foot is extremely cheap, but I know there's gonna be some additional money spent to do some, to even bring it up to run the first year. But when you look at the cost savings on the square footage, the $22,000 worth of tax monies goes away in a big hurry. And frankly, right now, if you tried to float a bond issue to build classrooms, I think you would have a real tough go of it. Again, I guess we got to rely on the board. We have to rely on the board.
Oh, and yeah.
And I hope that the board is responsible to the taxpayers, because I'm going to say it again, agriculture, it is a burden. Brian, you know that. Our tax structure, the way we fund school districts is a disaster for an agricultural state. And I'm going to ask again, of the school board, be active, try to get some of this funding things changed. It's going to take more than just the farm population to get that to change. It's going to need people like school boards that recognize that there's other ways to fund the school district than beating on that one sector.
And I think that's probably.
I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to say I'm in favor of this thing because I don't know enough about it. But I'll go on record to say that I'm not against it either. We need to learn more.
Yeah, I've been taking just a few notes as we were going, and again, just looking at the positives and negatives. I mean, there were a lot more positive things that were presented as potential opportunities with classrooms and different programs that some we have now and some likely will be mandated at some point. Our growth rate continues, I believe, and I think that's something, you know, that we have to look at too from a long term. Will we use all the space if we go forward with it at right now? I mean, I had a question with regard to that. So as far as submitting new space, as far as that program, is it, so it's based on student, not necessarily on the square footage, is that?
We would take the square footage of all the places that we would intend to use as classrooms. We take that square footage, even if we're not there yet. And then we look at what our student growth would be in there, and I would send that. That's what I had to do when I did in other schools.
Okay, so it's a one-time deal. You don't do it this year, hey, we're going to do this, and then next year it's going to be that. That was my question.
No, so we would look at probably a 6-year projection and say this is the students we'd be
dealing with
in this building.
And to your best knowledge of that whole funding formula, this would be a sure thing.
Yeah, it's a state aid formula. It's a line in the state aid formula.
As long as they don't get it in the next legislative session.
Hello, I don't know. You know, I mean, I can't predict, but I do know this. It's in there because of the growing districts who passed bonds and then couldn't afford the staff and couldn't afford the materials once they got the building. So it's called a new school adjustment.
And so that has the smell of it was put in there by the urban senators when they had the growth.
Or the growth places. I don't know. I mean, it's in there. It's been in there.
So it's likely to stay.
It's been in there for, yeah.
So you will sell the 4R?
That's something that these guys will have to look at, because why do we want to keep a building that keeps deteriorating and we're heating it and it's a cost to you if we're not intending on going back out there? And if you do this building, I don't know if you would intend to go back out, but I think sometimes those are so political out there that you just got to make sure that you advertise and get that conversation going faster. This one, I wish we had 3 or 4 months, because we're not intending on going in there right now. I wish we had 3 or 4 months to talk about it. But that's not going to happen.
The modular
That's what bothers me there.
I know, us too. And we said the same thing. It's not the dollars because we can replace them. It's the conversation with the community we wanted to have.
So will you use the chapel also?
Yeah.
Might be able to sell that off to some other.
I don't know. We're going to, because when you do that.
That's been good in there.
Yeah, there's nothing in it.
They could furnish. Now, 4R is storage, you said?
Yeah, right now storage.
So if you sell it or whatever happens to it, what's that stuff gonna do? Where's that gonna go?
Storage will be back in town in a
In
portion of
that
this building. Yeah, that's where we would go with
That
central
will be
storage.
Enough storage. I
Yeah.
don't know what you got in there.
I gotta be careful though, that I don't use up a lot of classroom space for storage, because if I can get money for it, I'm gonna get money for it.
Well, this is about my next question was the stuff that has any value that could be moved.
Yeah, because when you have a district of 2,000 kids and you got extra desks and extra, I mean, there's stuff that we wouldn't necessarily sell, but some of the stuff, I mean, we sell every summer. We have auctions, right? Stuff that is either shot or out of date, or we don't use it. And so we have to legally, to get rid of it, we have to sell it the way it's supposed to be sold. Just like the county, you know?
And I was saying, there was things in this building too that
This building is full of contents.
that could be sold as well to help
Mhm.
facilitate
Well, they
any.
did get all the contents out.
All? None.
None.
Oh, is that right?
The walkers. So if you need a walker, I'd sell you one.
Wheelchair, bed,
Beds, chairs, lifts.
Really?
jelly, crackers.
They just closed up and walked out.
So you will take, if you purchase this, you'll take possession immediately.
We take possession probably after the first of the year, sometime whenever we get this whole thing worked out. And then this next semester, then we would start looking at what are we gonna clean up and move, and what are we gonna put on auction, and where do we put it? So if we put it all in the chapel where we can pray that it sells high, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of equipment in there worth a lot of money. Yeah, all those beds, mattresses. There's a lot of stuff.
It bothers me too, because I was kind of looking for assisted living. I'm getting at that age.
Okay, Jerry, we're gonna keep one room just for you. No, but you know.
All jokes aside, that is still a concern of mine, that this community has no facilities now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way that's gonna change is if the federal government takes a hard look at why don't we have anything left for the residents out in this part of the world and adjust their reimbursement rates. Is that gonna happen? Probably not likely. And I don't know, this facility also, I think a lot of it is outdated to the point where I don't know, when you look at the competition in Columbus, even with the new facilities, I think you would really struggle running this again as a nursing home. And, you know, one part of me says, I hate to lose it for tax purposes, but the other side is, it's kind of foolish to have it set there vacant, and I understand the city's been mowing the lawn even, so it doesn't look like an eyesore coming over the side. And so it's just a drain on the city of Schuyler from that standpoint.
And one of the things that you see is this: some of our cultures in town will use assisted living and nursing homes less because they keep elderly in their homes. Okay.
Very much.
And so when you look at who our population is and how do you do
That doesn't
that?
mean I don't want a nursing home someday.
So do we got to keep 2 rooms? Just keep 2 right next to the cafeteria. I got it.
What about me?
No. But
Okay.
the good thing is that it's a school zone, so there's no alcohol, no. Okay, so that'd be good.
Dr. Hazing, so our special ed offices are in a modular at the middle school.
Some are in the modular, one's in one of the wings of the middle school. We're all over the place. Okay, our psychologist that we have on staff, she's how.
I guess the point I'm getting to, that's the last modular that
we
and through this transaction, the likelihood that we could eliminate that modular would be high.
Yeah.
And we would have all facilities in permanent buildings, correct?
Yeah. So that would be a building. I don't think there's a lot of emotional tie. That would be one that I would just say, this one, we're getting rid of the last modular.
Yeah, but it adds to the safety factor of
Yeah.
what we talked about too. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
Right now, it's needed space for us, but we have alternative school testing, all kinds of stuff out there.
Rich just mentioned safety, this building would be relatively easy for that purpose.
And it's got all concrete parking lots, which is a big thing. Most of the concrete's pretty good. There's a little bit of it broken up on the north side, a little bit on the sidewalk. But as far as handicap accessibility and parking and, you know, we're not sitting here with a bunch of dirt parking lots that would have to have something done. So,
On that security issue.
yeah.
And costly.
Well, this isn't an easy decision, but yet I would have felt bad if I wouldn't have brought it back to the board and said, okay, you guys had an opportunity. I had my head stuck in the sand. I was more afraid to bring it than I had the courage. And that's not where I thought I needed to be. That Jackie worked hard with us on this thing. And we're looking at, we don't know all the uses for that building yet, because I do think that if there's some opportunities for us to recover some things and provide more support for the community at a cost that we're not paying for, that there may be some issues out there that we can help.
So I'm assuming that most of your special ed kids are right here in town?
No, they're in the rural schools as well.
No, I mean, living in town.
Oh, yeah.
as a percentage, I would say yes.
Versus the rural kids.
Oh, no, we have rural kids who are
But I mean, the
special ed.
majority of them are residents of Schuyler.
Well, the majority of our students are,
Well.
you know, but as far as the percentage wise, as far as the percentage wise,
So in other words,
we've got kids out in
this
Richland and
will
Fishers.
most likely be centralized for majority of the kids right here in town.
That's where all of our record keeping would come into, and then we work out of that, yeah.
Now, back to my original question, you said the main entrance would be on the north side?
The school entrance, but the special ed entrance would be on the southeast. That's what we're looking at right now. We've not made all the decisions, but I'm kind of looking at, I've been in a lot of schools and looked at how would I position this thing so that it's the cross traffic that, and so.
Getting that is become kind of a traffic issue when that elementary went out there. And then you got another one coming in next door to it.
Yeah, but I think with the 4 entrances that, you know, if the district office is in the southwest corner, and if that was early childhood in that wing and special ed next door, I'm not going to say that's exactly how we're going to do it, but I know we have 4 entrances that we can use. The alternative ed entrance is always a separate entrance for those kids because we don't cross them with little kids. Okay. I'm not saying that some of those kids won't move from there to a job in that place in the afternoon if there was an early childhood or something going on, that some of those kids are high school kids and they may be able to work a job. Okay. So some of the other programs that we're looking at is CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant. And we're looking at that through the revision grant that we have that we're applying for so that we get more students who will go into the nursing profession. And part of our revision grant is to be able to support the CNA certifications, which are much like what we do with our construction kids. They would go for classes through the college at that place. And so there's some things that we could do to really promote the education of our kids. So I don't want to exhaust you guys with all the boring stuff that we see some potential for that we can't do right now very well because we don't have space.
It's really not a very big investment.
It's still $750,000, and I think we got to make sure, yeah.
Not very much. And again, if you need the space, it's very little. It sounds to me what I'm hearing now is you can take what you're doing and do it a lot better by being able to spread it out.
How much property? is
5
not-
acres.
Not under concrete.
Not under concrete? Yeah, there's quite a bit out there not under concrete.
I don't know how it plays over.
Yeah.
There's, if you drive around, there are 2 parking lots on the south. There's a bigger parking lot on the north. And then you'll see the private entrance around the back.
Is there any bare dirt property to the west?
I'd say it was probably, I'd say probably 80 foot anyhow.
Yeah.
I'm just, that's a rough guess. I was just looking out the window.
There's room to put more parking in if you need it.
If you had to. I mean, we're just trying to get in and get it used and see how we use it and what the benefits are.
I went through this facility and I cannot believe why there is so much of the stuff that's left in there. There is so much stuff in that building. It's unbelievable. Like Dr. Hazing said, there's beds, and these aren't just cots. These are hospital beds and walkers and all kinds of stuff. It's
Those expensive.
to my mind, it's unbelievable that they didn't take that and use it in other facilities.
But do you know why though, Chuck, don't you, that the company that had it leased at the time, and Jackie and I were, the company that had it leased was bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so it was in a receivership, and
But even
they
this,
walked out, they just walked away.
even this company that owns it, because they're running other facilities in different areas.
But they were already full. I mean. they
Well,
already
yes,
had-
I understand that too,
So
but
it's just a matter of.
It was just my foot.
Naughty thing there.
So what
Okay,
we'll do is this, because this thing is happening fast, if the board decides that yes, we're gonna do our job to try to make sure the public knows when we're going in. We'll open it up, let people see, so that people grow with a little more comfort. If our half an hour conversation helped you come to, we kind of see why you're doing it. We might not agree, but at least we understand. If we can get to that level with our community who have some concerns, that would be important for us. So,
Is there a chance that if Jerry and I, for example, and Russ would like to just do a walkthrough, can we do that? Is that a possibility? I guess I'd ask Jackie.
what you'd have to do is probably go to the guy who has the key and ask for that, because until we own it, I can't really have people go into somebody else's property.
No, but it would have to be a special situation.
Have a Christmas party out there.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Pretty chilly.
have it during the day, but light.
But if we opened it up for the community and said, okay, this is what we're doing, and if we get the keys and we can do it, we can turn on the electricity, because right now it's dark, and if people fall down in there, now who's liable?
I'm not asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to
got
open it.
three people sitting here that would probably, at least I'd be inquisitive enough to know what it's like, and formulate some ideas myself how you might use it.
Okay,
And
I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, are you interested, Jerry? I guess I may have speaking.
I'd make you know they did quit.
Wants to pick out his room.
That's still running?
Yeah.
Well, everything's shut off. All the power's shut off.
Oh,
But even, there's a lot of rooms that have refrigerators and
But all the rooms
microwaves.
have refrigerators on the assisted living,
All
so
that
there's a
stuff's in
lot of
there.
refrigerators.
People's-
all the
that
kitchen
wasn't
stuff.
people's personal stuff.
And
that
it
was-
all
that was provided
functioned
by
up
the
until
nursing home.
midnight of the night that they
Probably
removed
all
the people.
moldy right now.
And then they shut it all down.
There was stuff in it.
Yeah, moisture in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I bet they could be.
I don't think the refrigerators would be too nice.
Because even if you have a camp.
Okay, you guys ready?
All right. I would entertain a motion. Let's see where we got it here. It's
You
here
see the motion
somewhere.
here?
That's the motion.
Yeah.
I did.
I move that the Board of Education of this school district approves entering into a real estate purchase agreement for the purchase of real estate located at 2023 Colfax Street in Schuyler, Nebraska, including all buildings and other improvements located thereon from the seller, that the board hereby approves and adopts the attached resolution.
So the resolution is on the back.
Should I read the resolution
Yeah, I think you
first?
should, for the public, because the more the public knows, the better.
And then we'll look for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. The resolution is, be it resolved by Colfax County School District 19-0123, AKA Schuyler Community Schools, a Class 3 school district under the laws and statutes of the state of Nebraska. At this special meeting of its Board of Education, Schuyler Community Schools, that the real estate purchase agreement for the real property located at 2023 Colfax Street, Schuyler, Nebraska, purchase agreement between Schuyler Community Schools and the seller, EHC Schuyler Realty LLC, the seller, in the form on file with official Schuyler Community School records and has been presented at this meeting, or with such changes as are deemed necessary and in the best interest of Schuyler Community Schools and approved by the superintendent of schools, should be and is hereby authorized and approved. Be it further resolved that the president of the Board of Education, superintendent of schools, or other designee for Schuyler Community Schools should be and is hereby delegated as the authority and is authorized and directed to sign, execute, and deliver such purchase agreement and any development plans, development agreements, subdivision agreements, interlocal agreements, documents, or other agreements called for in such purchase agreement for and on behalf of Schuyler Community Schools. And is further hereby delegated the authority and is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any necessary deeds, subdivision agreements, interlocal agreements, and or instruments under the such purchase agreement or in the development of the described property according to the purchase agreement, and is delegated the authority and is authorized and directed to retain any necessary professionals for assistance to pay the purchase price, development costs, all costs and expenses, and to take or cause to be taken all other action necessary or appropriate to close the sale, purchase, and conveyance transaction, and to develop the described property and pay all development costs and expenses as provided herein according to such purchase agreement or any approved changes thereto, or those in the best interest of Schuyler Community Schools upon presentation of deeds or required plans, documents, or development proposals from the seller or others on the described property to be purchased, received, and developed by Schuyler Community Schools under the purchase agreements.
In summary, this is what it says. The Board of Education authorizes the purchase of the agreement up on a successful purchase agreement. In other words, all the due diligence that goes with it. Okay, if there's something that our attorney recommends against, that you will be given a chance to get out of this thing. Okay, and say, no, we don't want to do it. There's some issue with the property that we don't want to have. Okay, just like anytime you purchase something, you have 7 days for rescission. Okay, and so, but we're going to push it off. We're going to see if we can get it pushed off to the 30th or 31st,
That's how it's
just to
gonna-
get us enough dates to make sure that we get in that building and are able to do this. Okay, now again, I took Paul through it, and he's comfortable with where that facility is, but with no electricity, we're going through there with our flashlights and trying to figure it out. I want to be able to get the power on and do a good job of walking through it and get the right people here. The other thing is we do have records of any of the past 2 years, any of the maintenance issues that they had. It's all in the title because it just sold. So all that title stuff has just been redone. And so that's going to expedite any concerns that our attorney would have with this property.
I would get it put in a contract that they do a termite inspection on their cost. They pay for it.
Doesn't that happen all the time?
No, it doesn't always happen. No, but that isn't a bad,
Or just a
Bad requirement.
requested
When you buy a
inspection.
house, you can
Yeah.
yeah.
Loan inspection and termite inspection.
Yeah, I think those are, and
Valid.
so we can look at those two things.
Because you could spend a lot of money up there.
Yeah. Again, when we walked through the building looked in, it's dry, it's good, but you know what, it's never hurts to get another inspection. We looked at all the foundations, we've looked at the roofs, we've looked at about anything that you would look at a purchase of a house, you know. But as far as the inspections and so on, I know that those things, we have to look through all of the title stuff, because if it was just done a few months ago on the purchase, there's no sense us paying for it again or them paying for it again if it's been done.
That may be something to consult with the attorneys on to see if they're,
Yeah,
if the purchaser did a full, they may have hired an architectural or an engineering firm to do a full study on
Yeah.
that building before it's
So-
purchased.
Derek is nervous because this is fast. And these guys do a lot of these, and he's saying, okay, we're gonna make sure that we do the due diligence. And again, we don't like being shoved so fast. We'd rather push it off, but if that's the requirement for the sale. So he's gonna try to push it off to the 30th or 31st. Okay.
Yeah, get
So
everything
if
we
your
can.
action today, so the motion is this, just so you understand what you're doing, that you're not locking yourself in. If for some reason something smells bad, we can recommend we get out of it. Fair?
Well, this resolution is, I think the entire resolution is one sentence. So Rich, you did a nice job of trying to follow through all that. But I guess just the one,
Wish they'd put it in English.
the one thing that, talks about development costs in there, a couple lines. So can you help me understand that a little bit better?
He wrote it so generically to say, if the development company in town, the Schuyler Community Development, if we want interlocal agreements with the city or the county, that we can exercise those things in that. But right now, we don't need those. It's just a generic
Yeah, kind of looking at all things potential
potential.
and, what might come of it, so.
Yeah,
it's relating to,
to the use of the building.
but we're not, by passing this resolution, we're giving you or the green light to, or the board, we're not giving the board the green light to spend whatever dollar amount for renovations to the building.
No, because any renovations that we do, like anything that we do to any of our buildings, will all come back to you.
Correct.
And we put it on our plan a year in advance. So you guys know if we're doing things in buildings where we're replacing carpets, it would be the same thing here. We put this building on the same plan if we're gonna do anything. That's why thinking that we're gonna have classrooms in there in year one, no, we're not prepared to make any modifications that are major here to any parts of the building at this point until we get a good plan and we get a good study.
That's what I assumed, but it had the part about development costs in there a couple times.
When I read it, I talked to Derek. I said, Derek, he says, it gives you a lot more latitude. So should you want to farm out a part of that building? So
So the motion needs to be seconded?
the
Yes.
motion needs to be
I'll
seconded.
second that.
Okay?
And then what about the resolution? Is that just part of the
No,
motion?
that's just part of it.
Okay.
Because it says, yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I have one simple question. Has anyone checked zoning regs to make sure that this is all feasible? What is the zone? Commercial, I'm sure.
mhm.
You know that. I mean, that's just one simple thing.
Nursing homes and schools are basically zoned similar. So.
Would they be zoned commercial for education? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
Don't know.
I mean, it's just so something simple like that doesn't. they're right on.
Jackie, will you check on that?
Yeah. City council can
Change
it.
Yeah, but we need to make sure that it's zoned right for us because
You'd
it's,
have to apply for a variation or.
Yeah.
the other thing, Jerry, I think you asked a question about if you lose that valuation. Anytime we lose valuation, our state aid goes up, equal dollars. Okay? Anytime our valuation goes up, you pay the bill. So by losing that, it's not as secure as a local tax dollar, but that's the way the system works. We're still an equalized district, so valuation goes down, we get more.
Other comments?
I don't think so.
Brian?
You know, you've mentioned it a couple, numerous times, just, yeah, this short time frame makes me real uncomfortable, I guess. And just the same concerns that the gentleman in the crowd shared, as far as having a hard time wrapping my head around the, you know, I understand tax planning at the end of the year and the reasoning for being able to take a loss for a company like that. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around. This is the price today. This is what the price in 2 weeks is going to be, and but that's what the deal is. But yeah, that making it that short time frame makes me uncomfortable. But I guess it sounds like with this resolution we have